Hello once again, friends. Welcome to the Financial Literacy. It is brought to you by the Financial Literacy Foundation in partnership with Mana TV. And thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for being part of this session. We are on our day 22nd or lesson number 22nd of our financial literacy. First of all, allow me to acknowledge and appreciate our senior pastor, and happy birthday once more to Pastor Joylene and our General Overseer, Pastor Strike, who make all this, they go all out to make these platforms possible. And thank you for the broad-minded vision of our church, which is able to consider a man not only in the spirit but also in totality. A man is a tripartite being, and we look at all the different personalities of men, and this is inspired also by ensuring that we are fruitful even in our walk with our finances. We are able to manage the resources that God has put in our hands. And thank you also to our Facebook friends who are joining us, and as much as they have now become part of the Mana family. And thank you for allowing me in your sitting rooms and in your cell phones tonight. Today we want to talk about the topic, which is more about the money also, which is the difference between savings and investment. Friends, do you know that there's a difference between saving and investing? Sometimes we tend to use these words interchangeably as if they mean one and the same thing, and the real sense of it is that they don't mean the same thing. You may be asking, does it matter for us to understand the difference between saving and investing? Yes, my friends, it matters. It matters the most because we miss the opportunities that we will often have and enjoy in growing our wealth when we can't differentiate between saving and investing. Let us try to demystify this concept so that when we try and want to do something, whether we want to save, we are able to save right. Whether we want to invest, we are able to invest right. And let's start with a brief talk about saving. This we spoke about previously, but we will be often going back to some of the concepts and the topics that we spoke about, just in order for us to be able to demystify and talk to them in detail so that we can be able to find it easy to implement. How do we save? What is saving? It is said that saving is setting aside money that you are not spending now for future use, for emergencies, or for future purchases. So saving is putting money aside. Putting money aside simply means when you earn your money, you decide that out of my income or out of my salary, I'm going to take this portion and put aside. That you are saving. It is money that you want to have quick access to, and it is money that you want to have access to with little cost, or if there is any, with very little cost. It is money that you put aside at very low risk, and it is money that you put aside at very low taxes if there are taxes to be paid. Remember, financial services products, there will be tax to pay. We'll talk a little bit about tax today, but when you save, you use these guidelines in order to be able to use the right product to save. So there's very little cost, there's very little tax to pay, if any, but most importantly, you want quick access to that money. When we talk of quick access, we are referring to money that you can want to withdraw within 24 hours, within 48 hours, or maybe within 3 days. Not necessarily that if you want it, you will get the money right now. It is quick access also, but we are not necessarily referring to quick access as in getting the money like going to an ATM and making a withdrawal. Some of the savings products that we know of, that we use in South Africa, have got quite a number of characteristics, but one of them is that you need to be putting certain minimum amount in many of the products. But besides the minimum amount, some require a particular minimum balance that needs to be put into those accounts. What we need to understand also is that in saving, you are not investing. So you are not putting money in order to be able to grow it. You are putting money aside so that you can be able to have access to. You also do that when you are putting that money aside in order to make purchases that you might want to do maybe in the next 6 months or in the next year or even in the next 2 years. So you put that money not in an investment, but you put that money in a savings facility. Of course, there is interest that you may earn, but there is very little interest that you will earn in savings accounts. Often you get statements like you will earn up to. So earning up to certain percentage that they give you does not necessarily mean that when you put your money in there, you are going to get that interest. There are terms and conditions that apply. And one of them, like I said, is the minimum balance. So you might use a facility which promises 7% interest. But they also say when you've got a balance of, for example, 100,000 Rand and above, then you will earn that 7%. But if your balance is less than that, you'll find that you will still use the facility, but you will not be able to earn that much interest. But you will be getting the lowest interest that the facility is able to give. What are some of the examples that we can mention when we talk of savings facilities? There are savings accounts, the normal savings account, which can also be a transactional account. But there are also call accounts. We also have notice deposits. When we talk of notice deposits, we are referring to your 7-day notice deposit. You are more familiar with the 32-day notice account. That is a notice deposit. We also have facilities like money markets that can be used to save money. But also, we also have unit trust accounts. This is when it is structured in a way that it becomes a savings account. Remember, unit trust can also be used for investing. So unit trust accounts can be both in savings facilities, and they can also be in investment facility. So we must be able to know that unit trust depends on how it has been structured. One day we will talk specifically, dedicated day where we'll talk about unit trust, for instance. But for now, I want you to know that savings facilities are there to be able to put money temporarily. They are there to be able to put money where you will be able to access that money as soon as you need it. Example of accessing the money could be during the lockdown, where maybe your income had been cut off or non-existent altogether. You will use your savings in order to get by. You don't use your investments, but you use your savings in order to get by. Another facility, which is also very interesting, could be your mortgage bond. Mortgage bond, if it is an access bond, can also be used as a savings vehicle. Why? Because when you put your money and you have amounts more than what is required for repayment purposes, that additional amount can be accessed in order to be able to do whatever you want to do. What is important now? We understand that savings accounts are not investment accounts, and the funds are easily accessible. What other things that we must understand is that there is relatively no growth in savings accounts. Interest rates that you may earn are very low in savings accounts. So usually such interest rates, they will be less than the rate of inflation. And you must know that if whatever interest or growth that you are getting is less than the rate of inflation, there is a tendency that there could be a loss in real value. But when you are using it for savings purposes, that is okay, because there is no other way that you can be able to earn higher interest rates or higher returns on a savings facility, because it is not meant to earn such high interest rates. So we use savings facility where we want to be able to do withdrawals regularly or once after a while. It is okay. And let us also say that any funds that you need to have access to between now and 12 months, 24 months, even 36 months at times, should not be invested, but should be put in a savings facility. So you can make use of any of those savings facilities that I have mentioned: the call account, the notice deposit, the fixed deposit, money market accounts, and so on and so on. But you will be able to have access to that money. So those are the things that we need to understand about savings. Let us contrast it with the investment arena. What do we mean by investing? Investing is buying assets for long-term growth. So the moment we are aiming at getting growth, we must be investing the money, not saving it. So when we save, it's where we want to have quick access. But if we want to grow, we need to be using investment products. It is putting money aside with expectation that it will make money for you. Yes, like I usually say, that money bears children. Money can give birth to children. And the children of money, its interest, its growth, its whatever return that the facility is offering. That is their children. So when we invest, we aim to have our capital or the initial amount invested to give birth to money. Examples of investment products could include shares or equities. It could include bonds. When we talk of bonds, I'm not referring to the mortgage bond that we use to purchase a property like houses. No, we are referring to bonds as in the financial instrument. We are talking real estates, which is property. We are talking unit trust also, if it is structured in a way that it becomes an investment. So we are talking endowments. These are the insurance policies that we can use in order to invest. We are talking of tax-free accounts, which also, similar like unit trust, it can also be structured in a way that it becomes a good long-term investment. What do we understand here? We must be able to pick up that we do not expect to make withdrawals from that money once we have put in, because it is for long term. So savings are a short-term thing. You put money now, tomorrow you might withdraw it. It is fine. The facility allows that. But investment product will not allow you, even though you can have the money, but you might find that you have it at very high cost if you want to make a withdrawal before any proper time has lapsed. So we are not expecting to make any withdrawals or regular withdrawals, but also time is of essence in investing. So when money is supposed to bear children, it can only conceive and give birth over time, not overnight, but over time. So time is very important when we look at investing. The rates of growth in investment products are far higher than the rates of growth or interest in the savings account. So investment accounts are specifically designed to grow, whereas savings accounts are specifically designed to keep money, it's a parking bay. So we need to get this properly. So for us to be able to decide whether you are investing or you are saving, I also like to put it in this way: you cannot run before you walk. So saving is walking, whereas investing is running. When you try to do the opposite, you will find that you will not have a good wealth management strategy. Because if you invest where you were supposed to save, you will find that when you need cash in the next 3 months, you will be bound to pay heavy penalties from the investment product in order to be able to withdraw such money. What do we need to consider before we choose an investment vehicle? There are 4 things that we need to bear in mind. And these are tax, liquidity, risk, cost, and time. It's 5 things, I beg your pardon. So what do we mean by tax? Tax, every financial service product that you know has got tax implications. You need to be able to understand what tax implications I'm gonna face in this investment product. So what do you understand at the moment as we are talking the tax implication on the investment product that you are currently having? You need to find that out. There are two major taxes that we mainly talk about. It's income tax and it's capital gains tax. These two taxes will not usually both be there in one product. It's either there is that other tax or the other. So tax on interest, usually it's on income tax, but tax on the growth of the fund, it is usually on capital gains tax. So these things we need to be able to understand. The second one is the liquidity. Liquidity, it's the liquidness of your cash. How easy it's your facility able to bring back your money when you need it. How easily and how quickly can your investment be converted into cash? The higher the liquidity, the lower the interest or the return that you're going to get. And the lower the liquidity, the higher the return that you are likely to get. And the third one is risk. What is your risk tolerance when we look at these investments? What is your risk capacity when we look at this? How much are you willing to lose? How much are you willing to gain? If the market crashes, will you be able to go to sleep? Even when you know that you are actually not going to need that money in the next short while, will you be able to go to sleep? Risk is not necessarily a bad thing. We need to be able to understand the concept of risk. I will say the higher the risk, the bigger the returns or the bigger the rewards. The lower the risk, the lower the rewards. So those things, they go hand in hand. The next one is the cost. What are my costs in order to enter into this investment? Or what are my costs in relation to making withdrawals from this investment? These are the very important costs that you need to understand. How much does it cost to place my investment? These are the important things that you need to look at when you consider investing. And the last one is time. How much time are you willing to stay invested? How long are you intending to keep your investment still with the product? How long are you planning to keep the money? The longer the time, the better the returns. And the shorter the time, the shorter the returns. So the reason savings have got such low returns is because it is expected that you may come and get the money at any minute. So the returns are very low. But what should we learn from all of this? Depending on which platform you want to use will be dependent on your goals and your objectives. What is your goal of wanting to put this money? Is it for saving or is it for investing? Is it for emergency access or is it a long-term strategy? So we must not find ourselves investing in a savings product. And the same, we must not find ourselves saving on an investment product. So that is why we need to understand these things so that we are able to use them correctly. We need to be smart about our money. When you invest, you must aim to beat inflation. So if inflation is 6%, you must be able and you must aim to be able to get a return above 6%. Most investments are killed by investor behavior, not the investment behavior. So how we as the investors conduct ourselves around our investment, it is usually the way to understand the actual possible returns that you might be able to get. So for example, withdrawing at the wrong time. The moment you withdraw at the wrong time, it might kill your investment. So the longer the investment time, the higher the return that you will get, and vice versa. Examples of long-term investments that we can give could be, for instance, saving for your child's education. Maybe your child is 2 years old, and if we are saving for tertiary education, it means you have something like 16 years plus to be invested. That is a long time. So don't go and put such savings on a 32-day notice or on any savings product. You need a long-term strategy in order to do that. So anything that will take 7 years and longer, it is a long-term, it should be invested and not saved. But there is impact of inflation in our savings and investment. Let's quickly look at that. So we'll try to keep in calculations as minimal as possible, but remember, it will not always be easy to talk about money without mentioning figures. But let's use this example now. Let's say you've got 10,000 rand that you want to put away for a year. It will be worth 9,400 before you generate your interest after a year. So 10,000 rand after a year, excluding the interest or the return that you will get, will be worth 9,400 in real terms. Where is the 600? It's the inflation. So with 4% interest, which you will normally get on a good savings account, that means you will be seeing 10,400 as your maturity after a year. Is that good enough? Not necessarily. So you needed it to be around 10,600 for you to be able to buy the same thing that your 10,000 rand was buying the previous year. Let me put this differently. When you have money that you want to save or invest, especially investing, you need to be able to understand the impact of inflation so that you can be able to decide on what return are you expecting to get, so that you can be able to use the right product to be able to do that. 10,000 rand today, by this time next year, you need to be having 10,600 in order to be able to be at the same rate, assuming inflation rate of 6%. If you keep the same money on a savings product, that 10,000 rand will be 12,167. Assuming a return of 4%. And equivalent to that will be 9,092 rand today. So anyone who is having 12,600 in a year's time from now is similar to someone having 9,092 rand today. So you can see that the impact of inflation is very severe on savings products. The same amount put away for 5 years in an investment product at 9%, because 5 years can easily earn you 9%. We are looking at 15,386. So let us contrast. You wrongly put 10,000 rand in a savings account where you were aiming to invest. You will go home with 12,167 after 5 years. Whereas if it was on an investment product, the same 10,000 will be 15,386 today. So you see the impact of using the right product for the right purpose. And if it is at 8%, for instance, where we could be averaging, we are looking at 14,693. Still, it is quite higher compared to the savings account that you could have used, whether it's a 32-day notice or it is a call account or whatever, money market. Why do we need to learn this? We need to be able to see that you cannot just go to the bank or to a financial institution and say, I want to invest. And then they say, there is this, and you put your money there. You must be able to ask questions. One of the questions I need you to understand or to ask yourself, it is what I will capsule it as the rule of 72. This is the rule of 72. It's where we want to try and estimate how long can it take me for my money to double, or how long can it take me for my money to halve in value. So if we assume we put money in a savings product where we are looking at 4% return, it will take you 18 years for your value to double. How do I get to 18 years? I say 72. See, isn't it we talk of rule of 72? So we are saying 72 divide by 4. 72 is it's a factor, but the 4 is the interest that you are going to get in a bank. So 72 divided by 4, it gives you 18. So it will take you 18 years for your 10,000 rand to be 20,000. Same applies if you use rule of 72 on an investment rate, which is 9%. We will say 72 divided by 9. It gives you 8. The same money put away on an investment product will take you 8 years to double in value. Can you see the importance of that? So let us learn these concepts and understand. But we can also use the rule of 72 to calculate inflation, to say how long will it take the value of my money to halve. So 10,000 rand becoming equivalent to 5,000 rand today. If we are using the inflation of 6%, for instance, we will be saying 72 divided by 6, and that will give you 12. That 12 is the number of years it will take you for your value to diminish by half. So these are very important things for us to be able to take into consideration when we are considering our investment and our savings decisions. We must not just walk in and walk out and believe that someone will do some miracles. These things are straightforward and they are open. They can be discussed upfront before you sign off for your money. What are other things that we need to take into consideration between savings and investing? The tax consequences. I've mentioned on those 5 aspects, tax is one of them. Remember, most of the savings product, they generate what we call interest. And interest is taxable in a form of income tax. So some of us, we are really murdered by a tax from SARS, and we don't really understand where does it come from. Some of them, they may be coming from the interest that we are earning from the bank. Yes, there is an exception. The first 23,800 per annum is not taxed, but the bulk will be taxed. And other things will be that on some or most of the investment products, tax is paid through the fund or while the money is still invested. So as a result, you usually will not pay income tax the moment the money comes back to you. You might be liable for capital gains tax, but the effective rate of capital gains tax is far less than the marginal rate of tax which you pay using the income tax tables. So those are the things we need to bear in mind. So we can be able to manage these things by understanding. Let us learn the language of money. Let us understand the principles of money, like the rule of 72 that I've mentioned to you. But other things that you need to be able to learn, it's things like simple interest versus compound interest. It's things like variable interest versus fixed interest rates. Nominal interest rate versus real rate of interest. All of these things, they are spoken about. So we must be able to know which interest rate is it applicable to me. When a bank or an institution promises you a particular percentage, you must be asking yourself, which of these rates is this? Is it an effective rate? Is it a interest rate compounded monthly, or is it an interest rate compounded annually? Is it an interest rate compounded quarterly? And those type of things. These things are very important to be able to get grip of your money, because what the bank will promise, it's usually the nominal rate, but you need to be able to understand it from the real rate, because you will be getting your money on a real rate purposes and not on a nominal rate purposes. And in conclusion, let's also understand that these things we can teach ourselves. But as we teach ourselves, let us learn to use our financial advisors in order for them to be able to guide us in order to make the right decisions. Morrison, it's not investment, because you will be giving money to this partner today and to the next partner the next day, and what you get back, it's exactly what you have given them. And actually it is less, because we must be discounting it with inflation and the cost of doing such things. So Mugodishano, I see investment is just another way of helping each other. Maybe we can call it saving, but it's a poor saving still. So we need to be able to understand also the difference between speculation and investing. Speculating, that's where we put money now, hoping that the rates will go high and I go and withdraw. That is not investing. Investing, it's putting money for a time. And we need to be able to learn to control our exposure. We can control our risk exposure in different ways. One of the best ways is diversification. So some of the funds that can be used can be diversified by themselves, but it is also important to be able to diversify. And investing consistently will benefit you from rent cost averaging. These are some of the concepts. We will talk about some of these things as time goes, but I want you to be able to understand. So go back to your drawing board. Go and look at your investment schedule. Go and look at your savings schedules and check the interest rates that you are getting. Ask those important questions to the institutions where your money is. Always get guidance. You will be able to win. Remember, what you have, it's a test. You need to be successful with that. You must pass the test in order to be promoted to the next level. I thank you very much, and may God richly bless you. Amen.